Chess is a battle of ideas between what you want to happen and what your opponent wants to happen. One way to get your opponent to do what you want them to do is by making powerful moves. Powerful moves are forcing moves that create threats that your opponent either must respond to, such as a check or a threat of checkmate, or risk ending up in a bad position, such as capturing a more valuable piece or threatening an unprotected piece. Let's look at some examples of using powerful moves to gain the upper hand against your opponent. In this position, white moves the rook to h5, checking black's king. Notice that the black king cannot move away from the check because of white's light square bishop. Black is forced to play queen h7, blocking the check but allowing white to win the queen for a rook after rook takes h7. Let's take a look at this position. White pushes the pawn to d4, threatening the bishop on c5. If black doesn't want to lose the bishop, its only safe retreat square is d6. After bishop d6, now that the bishop has retreated, can you see the next powerful pawn move white can play? That's right, e5, forking the bishop on d6 and the knight on f6. White is going to win material. Let's take a look at one more position. Sometimes a powerful move doesn't win a piece or even threaten checkmate. Powerful moves can also gain time by bringing a piece into the game and attacking one of your opponent's pieces that is already developed. In this position, black has spent a move developing the queen to h4. White develops the knight on g1 to f3, developing the knight and attacking black's queen. Black has to waste a move by retreating the queen to safety instead of using that time to bring another piece into the game. In chess, we call this losing a tempo, or the time spent on one move. Black loses a tempo by retreating the queen to safety with queen f6. Can white play a second powerful move that develops the dark squared bishop on c1 and forces the black queen to move again? Yes, white can play bishop to g5, gaining a second tempo against the queen as black falls further behind in development. Now that you've learned how powerful moves help you control the action in a game, it's your turn to practice finding powerful moves. One of the most satisfying moments in chess is when you see many moves ahead, knowing that you have the game won and your opponent doesn't have any idea what is about to happen. In this position, the famous American master Paul Morphy has the white pieces. He finds a game-winning combination by sacrificing his queen to force checkmate. Can you see it? He played the incredible queen to b8 check, sacrificing his queen. After the forced knight takes b8, now that the knight has left the d-file, white's rook is wide open to deliver checkmate with rook d8. Checkmate. Let's take a look at some more game-winning combinations. In this position, black's king does not have any legal squares to move, often a signal that a checkmate may be near. If only white could remove the b7 pawn, white's light-squared bishop could deliver a checkmate on a6. Can you find the game-winning combination for white? If you found queen takes c6 check, great job. Black is forced to recapture with the b7 pawn. After b takes c6, white finished the combination by delivering checkmate with bishop a6. Let's take a look at one more example together. In this position, white has the option of trading knights on e5. White finds a combination after the trade of knights because after knight takes e5, d takes e5, the d-file is now wide open. White can trade queens and ruin black's ability to castle, but there is an even stronger tactic of deflecting the king from its protection of the black queen. Can you find it? That's right, bishop takes f7 check. After king takes f7, white wins black's queen with queen takes d8. Now it's your turn to practice looking ahead and finding winning combinations. You've already learned how to spot simple checkmates, and you've learned many other types of tactics you can use to create winning positions, like discovered attacks, removing the defender, and sacrifices. It's time for you to start looking deeper and deeper into the position and find checkmate in 3 moves. This actually means 3 of your moves and 2 of your opponent's moves, so you're looking pretty deep into the position. Let's look at a few examples. In this position, white has doubled rooks on the f-file, and black has only 1 rook on the back rank. Notice the black rook on a8 and the king on g8 both guard f8. What if we could move the king and force it to the corner to h8? Then there would be only 1 protector on f8, and the rooks would be able to work together and deliver checkmate. Can you see the mate in 3? Knight e7 check. Forces the king to h8. Black's king is now in the corner, and f8 is only protected by the rook. White plays rook to f8, checking the king, and forcing rook takes f8. And now it's over. After rook f8, checkmate. If you saw all those moves in advance, great job. Let's take a look at another mate in 3 position. Looking at your most forcing moves available first can help you find complicated checkmates. Black only has 2 checks. One is taking the pawn with the queen, and that doesn't look very promising. What about the other check, knight to f3? Notice the knight connects with the queen on h2, so if the king moves away, it's checkmate. After knight f3 check, can't white just take the knight, g takes f3? Well, yes. But does that allow another check now that the g file has been opened? The queen can go onto the g file and check the king. With queen to g6 check, that forces the king to h1. And now, can you find one more check? We have a pawn on f3, no longer protected. Aha, the bishop on b7 could capture the pawn and deliver checkmate. Can you see all of that? Let's take a look at it together. Knight to f3 check, forcing white to take the knight, g takes f3. Now that the g file is open, black can play queen to g6, checking the king. The king is forced to h1, and now it's stuck in the corner, vulnerable to attack. Black finishes the game with bishop takes f3. Checkmate. Let's look at one more position together. In this position, white appears to be in serious trouble as black is threatening queen to b2, checkmate. There doesn't seem to be a good defense. Maybe white can't defend, but can white attack? There is a force mate in 3 for white. Since white is about to get checkmated, every move needs to be a check. Can you find it? If only white's queen could move to h7, imagine that position. A queen on h7 for white would be a checkmate. Can white somehow get the queen there? Yes. After rook h8, the king is forced to take the rook and enter the h-file. Can white's queen deliver a check on the h-file? Yes. Queen h5. The king is forced to g8, and now it's mate in 1. Queen h7. Checkmate. Great work solving checkmate in 3 problems. Now it's your turn to practice finding 3-move checkmates on your own. One of the greatest feelings in a game of chess is sacrificing your queen on purpose so that once your opponent captures the queen, you deliver a devastating tactic to win the game. Of course, we don't want to typically give our queen away, but you must be prepared to give up anything if it means winning the game. Let's take a look at some spectacular queen sacrifices. This position is from the famous opera game. American master Paul Morphy sacrificed material to keep black's king stranded in the center. He is now ready to make one more sacrifice to force checkmate. Do you notice that if the knight on d7 wasn't there, white's rook could move to d8? The rook would be protected by the bishop on g5, so the position would be checkmate. How can white force the black knight to move away from the d-file so white can deliver checkmate? That's right, with the stunning queen sacrifice, queen to b8 check. Forcing black to play knight takes b8. Opening up the d-file so white plays rook to d8, Checkmate. Besides pawns, white only has a bishop and a rook left, but material doesn't matter when checkmate ends the game. Let's take a look at another position. In this position, black is threatening checkmate with queen to g2. White does have ways to block the checkmate, but it's important not to instantly react and become defensive when you are attacked. Does white have any attacking ideas to force black to react? Although black is threatening checkmate in one move, white has a forcing checkmate combination beginning with a queen sacrifice. Can you see it? After the forcing, queen takes f8. White sacrifices the queen to force the king to the back rank. After king takes f8, white now has a forced checkmate in two moves. After rook e8 check, black is forced back to g7. After king to g7, notice black's king does not have any safe squares, and the knight and the rook work together to deliver checkmate with rook to g8. Not all queen sacrifices win brilliantly, although those are the most fun to play. In this position, white appears completely lost. Not only is white down a lot of material, white is about to get checkmated on the very next move. Notice that the only piece that has a legal move in this position for white is the queen. What if white could offer a queen sacrifice and force black to capture it? White would save the game with a stalemate. Notice that queen b8 wouldn't work because black isn't forced to take the queen and could deliver checkmate. We need something more forcing. Do you see it? That's right, queen to f8. Black is forced to capture white's queen. Black can capture with either the rook or the king, but in either case, it's stalemate. After rook takes f8, white does not have a legal move, but is not in check, so the game is a stalemate. Let's take a look at one more example. In this position, with black to move, American master Frank Marshall found an absolutely incredible queen sacrifice. Can you find the move? Marshall played queen to g3. It's hard to believe, but black is completely winning after placing the queen directly in front of white's pawns. Black is threatening queen to h2 checkmate, but this seems pointless because white has so many ways to capture black's queen. Surprisingly, white is completely lost and resigned the game. Let's see why. If either pawn captures, white loses immediately. After h takes g3, the h file is now opened and black delivers checkmate with knight e2. After f takes g3, the f file is now opened and black wins after knight e2 check, forcing white to give up protection of the rook with king to h1, and black delivers checkmate with rook f1. White's only way to prevent immediate checkmate is with queen takes g3. Black can enter the endgame up a piece after knight e2 check, forking the king and queen and forcing king to h1. After knight takes g3 check, the knight captures the queen, and once again, neither pawn can capture the knight. The h-pawn is pinned, and if the f-pawn captures, black can capture white's rook and deliver checkmate. This means the only move is king to g1. Black's simplest choice is to trade rooks after knight takes f1 and g takes h3. White captures black's rook, but doubles the h-pawns and isolates the f-pawn. After knight to d2, white is now down an entire knight. And with so many pawn weaknesses, a master like Frank Marshall would have no problems winning this game. After looking at these incredible queen sacrifices, are you ready to find stunning queen sacrifices? Let's put you to the test.